Good afternoon from Warsaw, Poland, here at the 18th Chopin International Piano Competition. My name is Rachel Naomi Kudo.
And I'm Alessandro Tommasi. So, as always, we ask a very first question, which is to introduce yourself, your name, and where are you from? Starting with you, Martín.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Martín García García, and I'm from Spain. I was born in a little city in the north of Spain called Gijón. It's right next to the sea. It's very beautiful, quite small. And right now I live in New York, where I just finished my master's degree in Mannes School of Music.
Good morning, my name is Alberto Ferro. I come from Sicily, Italy. I study in Catania with Professor Comis, and I'm teaching in Messina Conservatoire.
Wonderful, and I love how the two of you, it's going to be very intimate today. We can talk about anything we want, like the soccer game we mentioned, Spain versus Italy. No, but we're here at the Chopin competition. We'd love to know if you have any memories of listening to Chopin's music for the first time as a child, or maybe it was your first piano piece. Do you have any recollections?
Actually, since we are kids, since I was a kid, I remember hearing even the music from Chopin, even in shopping malls, like it was everywhere. It was just like a transition to conscience that I started to realize, well, yeah, this is Chopin. you never really listen it for the first time. I don't have that recall moment. But I remember my first piece, the little waltz, the Opus 64 in A flat major, and that was I don't know, I loved like a kid. I remember myself sitting at the piano and enjoying so much these first notes. And
During my childhood, I have to say I grew up with Chopin's music through listening many interpretations, especially nocturnes by Barenboim, and more or less all the compositions of Chopin's. And I immediately fell in love with his music.
Was the piano, how did the instrument come into your life? Actually, I heard, Martin, for you, it was your second instrument, right? It was after the violin?
No, actually, no. It was after my brother had played. So I actually wanted to play the violin when I was a kid, and my professor said, I don't think so. I think you have enough with the piano. And they were quite right. It's quite enough. But I started because my brother was playing, so I just immediately wanted to copy my older brother. It's quite natural, yeah. And it came out well. I fell in love, and I am the one who continued. He didn't continue studying. I continued.
This happens a lot, actually. The older brother starting with an instrument, the younger imitating them, and then is the younger the one that makes it a profession.
Yes.
But it's so sweet because your brother is actually here in Warsaw, and he came to support you.
Lately, he accompanies me, like all around the world. When I'm going somewhere, he decides to accompany me because I also trust his opinion, his criteria. He's quite strong. He has quite a strong opinion always. So it's very good for me because I know that I will never get a nice word if it's not actually nice.
Of course.
So that's great. He always goes with me. Yes.
And what about you, Alberto? Is there a person whose judgment you really trust, that you really want to be at your concert to say, yes, this is good, this could be better?
Well, maybe having some feedback from great teachers, of course, could be very helpful, to have some opinions, of course. But most of all, I try to concentrate to myself while playing, because, maybe later, after the performances, I'm curious about getting some feedback from many people, competent period of people.
Another question. You are both very experienced at competitions, and not just that, but you've done very well. You're both very successful. Martin, you just won first prize at the Cleveland International Piano Competition. Congratulations. That is not a small feat. And Alberto, I've known you over the years. You've been so successful again and active at Queen Elizabeth, also at the Bonn Beethoven competition.
The Busoni competition.
The Busoni competition. So how was it for you? Does it help build your confidence, experience-wise? And also I'm curious, because the show competition is so concentrated, just on the works of Chopin. How does it differ from the other ones that you've experienced?
For me, it's a more personal matter because when I have more composers or more styles, your brain also relaxes. When you are going to one style, you relax from the other style. You know, it can get very heavy, like 6 or 7 or 8 hours every day playing the same repertoire, the same composer. But it's also a very interesting experience because you get to know much more when you are focused on a single composer. You get to go much deeper into his music. It is exhausting, but it is a really
Strong
truly wonderful
experience.
experience.
Yes.
Yes. It's quite unique.
So the Cleveland competition was pretty recently.
Yes.
So did you know when you were preparing that you wanted to, I mean, obviously you wanted to do both. I mean, but I guess my question is, I don't know, how did you manage that? I mean, that's a lot of repertoire we're talking about.
It is. When I think in retrospective, I am completely nuts. You know, I don't know why I do this, but it comes from the will more than you know the thinking about how am I going to prepare this repertoire. I have been preparing the repertoire from Chopin since like 2 years ago. So it's so comfortable in my hands. If I don't play for 1 month this repertoire, it comes easier to my hands. Of course, it's not so. So I have been preparing for so long that it's not really a problem anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you remember the first time you knew that you wanted to be in Warsaw or heard about the competition?
As a kid, maybe I was 11 or 12. I was looking at the I don't know great competitions with Zimmerman, with Olson, with Argerich, you know, and it's kind of this legend that you look at that Philharmonia, which we have right here in front, and you know it's like being inside of that legend. It's amazing. I remember from my entire life wanted to be here. It is like a dream, really.
I see. What about for you, Alberto?
You mean about competitions? Because we changed
Well,
the
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the competitions and being in Warsaw. Did you know that you wanted to be here again, like Martin, from when you were young?
Well, I thought about applying to these competitions already since 6 years ago, since the last edition of the competition. And yeah, of course, the preparation, I have to say, maybe it doesn't come from 6 years. I think from as soon as you get to the first key, you know, as soon as you start playing the piano, maybe, and knowing also about competitions in general, maybe that is the final destinations. Who knows? Maybe something you can change in the path of musical career too. And me, I think competitions are very helpful, especially in this period, because there are not so many management in the world. So maybe even if we are too many people in this world, we have to try to get much more visibility. And I think Chopin competition, it is just on the top of the
For also the visibility.
Everest mountain. So it is like, yes. Yeah, both for visibility, for importance too. Yeah.
Did you notice already some extra Instagram followers?
Yes.
We were speaking about it also in the past
that's
Chopin
true.
talk. Like, okay, I played and then I have 200 extra people following me on
Yes.
Instagram the day after. So
Already since the preliminary round, I got
Okay.
much more followers than winning the Beethoven competition in Bonn, for example. Then,
yeah, of course, but this is also so important because competition exists also to promote young musicians.
Sure.
We are really experiencing how many talented musicians we have. We have 87 musicians for this round, and they're all really amazing. So sometimes it's just like really getting your slice of spotlight in order to promote your career and to go further. So really, that's something that Chopin competition try to do and manage to do happily. So
Absolutely, yeah. And
next question.
Yes.
Go on.
No, but I just also think that it's so wonderful that there is no right way. You know, there's no one way to play Chopin. There is no, this
That's
is the
true.
truth, you
Yes.
know, and that's it. End of story. I mean, I just love that we're hearing so many different personalities, different interpretations. You know, how many fourth ballades have we heard? But I find something compelling in each one, and there's not the same way. I just love that about Chopin and about everyone here.
And speaking about interpretation, and I wanted to ask you, how do you face this huge monolithic repertoire on a single composer? How do you manage to switch between different genres? How do you prepare it for the competition? Of course, you were saying, yes, I don't have many composers, so it can be difficult to just focus for 6 hours on a single composer. But that's, for example, switching from a mazurka to a polonaise to a ballet to a sonata helps in this aspect.
I also tried in the same sense as for practicing in that way that you just said. Also for playing the pieces, I always try to choose. Doesn't matter the composer, of course, but trying to choose quite contrasting works between themselves, even if there is a very little work that will make like a bridge between two major works, like one ballad and one scherzo, putting an impromptu in the middle. I think that gives you a feeling, of breathing. Like there is no more one composer. There is many genres. There is many stories inside of the music, and they differ a lot from each other. Even from the beginning of the first opuses from Chopin to the end, they are quite different if we get to know it. So of course it's manageable, and it's wonderful, and it's very extreme sometimes in Chopin as well.
Of course. And Alberto, do you think about this when you choose the repertoire you want to prepare for a competition? You told us that you decided already 6 years ago that you wanted to take part in the next Chopin competition. Have you been thinking about the repertoire for the past 5 years?
Well, of course, 6 years ago, yes, but checking the repertoire, I couldn't so long time because I was waiting for the rules, because sometimes the repertoire is changing. If I remember well, 6 years ago, for example, mazurkas were in the second round instead of the third round, maybe. So also some particular things is different. I try to put in general kind of crescendo pieces. So maybe starting with a slower piece and then getting much more power, until the
Snowballing
end
until the end
yes,
of the...
until the end, yes. Also, either to warm up or to do like a logical construction of pieces and the repertoire. And I also try to get more variety about pieces among them, because, for example, we can't play a polonaise such as impromptu or fantasy. We have to focus, I think, on rhythm and then flexibility of thinking about the phrasing, and also the gesture of the hand is very, very important in Chopin.
And what about sonatas? We actually have not yet spoken about sonatas in the Chopin talk. We spoke a bit about the concertos, for example, but how do you choose which sonata to bring at the competition, for example? There is somebody actually who brings them both. If you
Really?
can, yes, into different rounds.
There has been some cases, yeah.
Yes, there has been some cases in history. That's so I'm curious, but how do you choose which one? Just the one you are more comfortable with, or
Also, the preludes are an option.
also
Are
the
they?
preludes? Exactly. You can choose to do all preludes instead of a sonata.
Which would
so
be probably more in length. It's, I think, 40
yes,
minutes,
40
right?
yes,
Quite a
exactly.
big.
Usually, you only put the preludes and the mazurkas, for example. So, how do you choose which path to follow?
Well, about my choice, it was the second piano sonata, and I choose because of the expressiveness and very. It was about the communication, because it's very powerful, energetic, and dramatic also, of course. And of course, before choosing, I tried all 3 selections, so both the sonatas and the preludes. And then I choose the composition which I feel more comfortable through playing it.
Yeah, in my case, it changed. Like from year to year, you have, for me, like one sonata is closer to you, and then it comes the next one. And with the preludes, they are quite cohesive, but of course not as cohesive as a sonata, which is the main idea of the sonata, is that it should be cohesive. But in my case, I chose the third sonata, and when I got again deeper into it, because I fell in love with the second sonata first, And then when I got deeper into the third sonata, I started to think that everybody talks in the history of music about sonatas and about music making and composing, and they name so many names, but they never name Chopin as a great sonata composer. They name him as a great improviser, or as a great piano player, or the most beautiful sounds, or for the hand, or many things, but not as a sonata composer. And that sonata is incredibly amazing in the terms of how he writes the sonata. He's so carefully designed, everything. Second one is more intuitive. They go into different pathways that are amazing, really. They are so different. In this case, I went for the third sonata because of that. I found that structure, that deeper understanding inside of that. I don't know, I couldn't choose anything else. I just went for that.
Of course. Yeah, this happens because we tend to evaluate also the development of the canons of the Western music with, I don't know, Beethoven sonatas. So if it's not in that area, so Chopin, yes, there are nice sonatas, but he could not do a development section such as Beethoven did, which of course it's not needed because he's another composer. But you are completely right. There is so much in the two sonatas and also in the first one that is rarely played, but there are some really interesting things. And I mean, he was so young, and you could feel that he was really developing a technique for building sonatas, and of course also the two concertos. And even there, he was so young, and still he managed this big, broad form with such an effect. I mean, they're still commonly played in concert every day in the world. So, speaking about concerts, which one did you choose and why? And did you have the chance to perform it live also during the pandemic?
Well, not live during the pandemic. I had the chance many years ago. I played the second concerto. That's what I chose. And I chose this concerto because I know that everybody has a different feeling. But for me, it's just much... I feel like it's much deeper meaning in the second concerto than the first one. I don't know if it's because he wrote it first and he was more inspired. I don't know. And I understand that the first one, some people feel the same thing about the first one. So it's really about a feeling. It's not about anything. They are both great, but right.
Yesterday evening, our three pianists actually all chose F minor.
Oh, really?
And we were all kind of going on about how much we loved it, and we feel that it's deeper. So you're
really?
we're completely in the same camp of idea. I mean, I think he was very much inspired and in love and
exactly.
But he couldn't confess. No, it was all inside. I think that's why it's so.
Yes.
Oh, it's so compelling. Through the notes, you feel all the emotions.
Yes.
And Alberto, for you?
You chose the first one,
I chose
right?
the first one, yes.
Yeah.
I feel it is one of the most complete piano concertos in all piano repertoire. And I think it is like earlier Rachmaninoff third piano concerto, because I think it is like a movie to tell a story. And many feelings are in 40 minutes of music. Also some light drama, and it is very touching too, especially the romance, the second movement.
And you spoke about being a little bit like a movie. I was wondering, is there a piece in Chopin repertoire that you really connect with some strong image or a story that you think you want to tell? Is there a piece in particular?
I think not just a piece, but Chopin's music in general. I can say that, for example, the fantasy, yes, and the third impromptu, not. I think in general, Chopin's music is like telling a story to everyone.
I agree. So building programs takes a lot of thinking, logistics, logic. It's building your story or your time with the audience. And we were talking about going on stage. Also, something to consider is, how do you dress? What do you do with your hair? I mean, it's not just funerals, but also, well, it's a very important and very practical thing. And also because today we are very visual. Mm-hmm. It's not just the days of CDs and LPs anymore. We have the internet, we have YouTube, and we are a visual society. So Martin, we were talking about yesterday how your hair actually got in the way
Yes.
of your performance, and you were saying that you couldn't see the keyboard. So
Yes,
that was
also
not good.
No, it was not good. Yes.
So what are we gonna do about that?
Well, that's a good question. I'm thinking about doing what I did for the first interview in the preliminary round, that I put my hair back. It makes a lot of sense to do something about it. Even right now, this doesn't make
Just
much
cut
sense.
it.
At least do something with it, because it was really getting in the way, and it's already too much. Yes.
And
For
because
sure.
also you were sweating, and so I know
Yeah, that's the main
sweat-
problem.
Yeah, the
Yes.
sweat got in your hair and eyes.
Yes,
something like
inside of the eyes. And since I
Inside
have
of
contact
the
lenses, you know, it's like.
that. So maybe you can wear goggles or
That would be amazing and something really
waterproof,
memorable.
sweatproof.
Exactly, that's what I need.
Well, it's
That would make the news.
well, it's the Chopin competition. It could be a little sporty. I don't know. But maybe we could take a poll for the audience. What should
That would
Martin
be a
do
lot
with
of
his
fun,
hair?
yes.
Yes.
I'm actually
Help him.
deciding so.
Yes.
So
We
yes,
made a
just putting
solution.
them behind, cut
headband,
them,
a
cut them
headband.
completely, just shave your head.
Oh,
We had
no.
Leonardo
Bald. I
Pierdomenico
go
in one of
bald.
the talks that was telling us, oh yes, after the Chopin competition, I'm gonna cut
Cut my
completely
hair.
my hair. Okay,
Changing
just
life.
shave them.
There you go.
And what about you, Gabriele? Also your...
Alberto.
Alberto.
Why?
Gabriele,
Why?
I would be Gabriele Ferro, one
Yes.
of the most famous conductor.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's why.
Yes.
Alberto, sorry.
Yeah.
And how do you choose how to dress, how to get on the stage?
I try to feel as comfortable as possible, and yeah, the only one scaramantic thing is that I want to dress a bow tie instead of vertical
Oh,
tie.
that's
yes.
nice. That's nice.
Because I'm afraid if I would dress tight, it's like falling down to the keyboard and maybe doing some mistake through pushing the
Yes.
fingers there. And then, yeah, I don't like so much the long tail, you know, of the smoking. And I try also to move my arms very freely, so maybe larger smoking instead of too much
Not to be too
strict, and then
constrained,
you're
yes.
like blocked, you know. I think smoking is a mirror of playing sometimes.
And
But I
sorry,
did
what-
notice. I'm so sorry, because before you played, you had a beard.
Yes.
And then I noticed the day yesterday
yes,
morning
yes.
when you're playing. Oh, he shaved. So
Yeah.
that was that a
I
conscious
try to look
decision?
younger.
You want to look younger.
No, I mean, I think it's about repertoire. Maybe if I would play Shostakovich or Prokofiev, I could be like
You
more
would prefer the
A
beard.
beard.
Sicilian style. Very,
That's interesting. So there is a
Chopin is
connection
very,
between beard
you know,
and repertoire.
pure and with elegance. Maybe I try to
Yes.
not to leave the beard here.
Well, I think you looked very, very elegant and dapper. So it was wonderful.
Yes. So thank you so much for being our guest today. And it was really fun and
Such a
interesting.
pleasure. Yes.
Yes,
And we look
definitely.
forward to your next rounds. Really.
Yeah, definitely. So
Thank you so much.
Many,
and thank
many
you for
thanks for the
following us
invitation.
on the Chopin Talk.
Sponsorem programu jest PKN Orlen.